Coming out of the Browns' loss to the Chiefs, we are really no closer to our answer of the biggest question that the Browns have right now than we were a few weeks ago, which is, who's this team's starting quarterback of the future? Is it Jameis Winston? Unlikely after getting benched for Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who wasn't all that much better in relief, coming off the bench cold. I get all that. He threw an interception, and I've yet to see something from DTR to really makes me think that that could be a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL for a full season, not just a guy who can come off the bench and play a couple of games if needed. But a few weeks ago, it was all Jameis, right? And now it's not so much. So with that, Deshaun Watson kind of re-enters the mix because Mary Kay put out an article before the game on Sunday saying, don't sleep on Watson to be this team's starter in 2025. And people were blown away by this. I don't know why people were blown away by this. Why would we sleep on Watson? Like, he's under contract. It's a big contract. He's one of two quarterbacks currently rostered for 2025. Yeah, I do think he's got a pretty decent shot of starting next year when healthy. But the question is when healthy, coming off an Achilles injury. Now, short-term wise, who do you want to see start this upcoming Sunday in Cincinnati? Kevin Stefanski, when speaking to the media today, did not announce a starter. I think the lack of announcement signals they're going to go back to Jameis. I think if they were dead fast on moving on from Jameis and going to DTR, they would have come to that conclusion quickly. No news in this case is probably good news for Winston. So we got that tidbit of information from Stefanski. We also got a quick injury update on Nick Chubb. Likely does not require surgery, but he did break his foot, so probably not going to see him for the rest of the season. And who knows what the future holds for Chubb, but that's for a video another day. I want to dedicate today's video to the future at the quarterback position because a few weeks ago, everyone was high on Winston. And I had to be the rain cloud in the room that goes, guys, I know right now it's fun because they're scoring more points than they were under Watson and the games are more interesting. And sure, there's some couple interceptions here or there, but who cares? The Browns are 3-8, 3-9. At least they're more fun to watch now. Yeah, that's true when you're 3-8 and 3-9. It gets old pretty quickly, though. And that's ultimately what was Winston's demise, along with no touchdown passes against the Chiefs on Sunday. The turnovers were consistently high, and the Browns could not play any kind of form of winning football with that. But don't take it from me right now. Take it from me like 16 days ago when I talked about this. And so for me, I don't feel like we need to be in some major rush to decide whether or not Jameis should come back as the starter next year. We've got 5-6 remaining games to figure that out. Let's use those 5 or 6 games to figure that out. I am not ready to proclaim Jameis is going to come back and be the starter next year, and the Browns should give him a 2 or 3 year contract. Let's pump the brakes. If Jameis plays well for the next 5 or 6 games, then the decision is made for you. If he doesn't play well, then you have your decision. So fast forward to the highs of beating the Steelers on Thursday Night Football to today in a what are you doing for me now type of league, and those days are behind Winston, and now we're looking at 13 touchdowns, 12 interceptions through 7 starts. I mean, if you were to prorate these numbers over an entire season, they would look eerily similar to the last time he was a full-time starter for an entire season with the Buccaneers, when, if you remember, he joined the one and only 30 for 30 club, 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. And do you guys remember what happened after that season? No team called to make him a starting quarterback. He was a backup in New Orleans. So yeah, there are a lot of touchdown passes. The offense does look better with Jameis than it did with Watson. Those are all true. But the last time Winston played like this, the upcoming free agency period, he was viewed as a backup. And my guess is things haven't changed since then because no quarterback can put together a winning team with 29 interceptions in a season. It's just not something they want to bet on. So I don't think Jameis is the long-term answer. And by long-term, I just mean 1, 2, 3 year contract. Maybe a couple of weeks ago, that looked like nearly a shoo-in based on how much better he was playing than Watson. But the reality is neither option is all that great of an option. So the question that the Browns have to answer is Jameis a better option than Deshaun Watson? Well, in the eyes of Jimmy Haslam, who is the ultimate decision maker when it comes to the quarterback for this team, probably not. He's paying Deshaun Watson a boatload of money, and you're going to sell him on a quarterback that if you started all 17 games would end with 29 to 30 interceptions? He's not going to look at that as an upgrade, at least not an upgrade that's so sizable it makes sense for him to bench the $230 million quarterback. If Jameis came out and played lights out football, then yeah, you could not ignore those numbers. But tie goes to Watson here. He's got the huge investment in him. He's got the major contract. So the front office and Jimmy Haslam, if it's a debate, then it will go to 4. That might not be what you want to hear, and I'm in the same camp, but that's the reality in my eyes. So the only other option on this roster, if you're wondering, is Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I don't think it's a very good option. I like DTR coming out of UCLA. I don't think it's fair to make a complete assessment of him based on the times he's come off the bench or his first start against the Ravens with like 2 hours notice, but I think we have gathered a decent amount of data points to go, yeah, DTR is likely not a starting caliber quarterback for a franchise to open up the season. Could he come in relief for a couple of weeks if the starter gets injured? Maybe, probably. Is he someone I want to see the Browns trot out as their best quarterback option to start 2025? Heavens no. Before we get on to the rest of today's episode and talk about ultimately who I think this starting quarterback will be in 2025 Week 1, which I think might surprise you, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Help us reach our goal of 40,000 subscribers by Christmas. We are less than 500 subs away. So if you have not joined the channel yet, make sure to do so. Also, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Game Time. Game Time has an awesome feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. So if you want to go see my Tennessee Volunteers beat the Ohio State Buckeyes in person, use Game Time. If you want to go see a Browns game, a Cavs game, or any other sporting event in your area, visit Game Time first because they're giving the Dog Pound $20 off their first purchase when you use promo code CHATSPORTS. Terms apply, but again, create an account and redeem code CHAT Sports for $20 off. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Browns fans got some tough news this morning. Penn State quarterback Drew Aller announced that he's going to go back to Penn State for his senior year. So anyone that thought, get him in the third round, will be an all-time steal, it'll work great for Kevin Stefanski. Yeah, that's not going to happen anymore. So you look at Mel Kiper's quarterback rankings, and you can cross off number 4 on his list going into this past week. And I do not believe the Browns are going to finish in Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward range. This is from Tankathon, the current updated draft order going into Monday Night Football. The Browns currently hold the 7th overall pick. Call me crazy. I think they're going to find one more win in these last 3 games. I think there was just enough talent on this team. And I know 21-7 doesn't look like a great score, but if they just removed half of the turnovers, if James Prochet does not muff that opening punt, well, then the Chiefs don't get an easy, quick touchdown. And maybe it's 14-7. The Browns can have a real shot at tying that game late. So I feel like the Browns are going to find one more win, but they're not going to land in Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward range. Plus, Dion is just not letting Shedeur play for the Browns. Just accept that at this point. It's going to happen if ever got to that stage. So who do I want to see the Browns target in round 1? It's not a quarterback. I do not want to see this team reach on a quarterback just so they can check the box of taking a quarterback. Travis Hunter, the Heisman winner, if he falls to 3 or 4 because quarterbacks go 1 and 2, and the Browns are picking 3 or 4, I think that'd be a phenomenal pick. This team needs some talent on both sides of the football. Will Johnson, the Michigan cornerback, he was tremendous in 2023. Not so much with injuries in 2024, but I still like that pick for Cleveland. Abdul Carter to pair with Myles Garrett, the number 1 edge rusher in this draft class, or reinforce the offensive line. Kelvin Banks, Will Campbell, a couple of long-time starting left tackles for their teams. The Browns need a new left tackle. It is not going to be Jed Wills, and if you're a little bit iffy on DeJuan Jones, why not satisfy that uneasiness with a top 10 draft pick? I would wait on a quarterback until round 3. I wouldn't even take one in round 2. I do not believe there is a quarterback in this draft class for when the Browns are going to be picking that is going to come in here and shake things up dramatically. Now, every once in a while, you get your Brock Purdy's, right? You get your day 3 picks that come out of nowhere. So that's why I'm okay with using a draft pick on a quarterback, but not just taking one early for the sake of taking one early if you don't feel like they are in an appropriate selection amongst the guys going around him, right? If the round 2 quarterback for the Browns sticks out like a redheaded stepchild because no one else had a round 2 grade on him, but the Browns feel pressure to just take a quarterback for the sake of like appeasing the fans, well, what happens when that quarterback stinks and 2-3 years later, and it feels like you might as well not even have that second round pick because you forced a player at that spot that should never have gone that early, but you were so desperate for a quarterback. There are plenty of other holes on this roster to fill. Running game needs a ton of help. The Browns' defense is bottom 15 in the NFL this year after being number 1 last year. Go assess those needs with rounds 1 and 2. You got 2 third-round picks. You got one from yourself and one from the Bills for Amari Cooper. You could throw a dart at bullseye with one of those 2 third-round picks on a quarterback. If you miss, it's a third-rounder. C'est la vie. So, as for who the Browns quarterback is going to be to start next year, what about Jacoby Brissett? This is a bold prediction. It's not one I'm going to, go to bat for. I'm not going to die on this hill. But if Jameis Winston doesn't play the rest of the year, they're not going to bring him back. Don't bench him to re-sign him in free agency. I wouldn't be shocked if the Browns are definitely going to sign a quarterback in free agency. Remember, Deshaun Watson is going to be coming off an Achilles injury. So they have to put together, a competent roster. And I wouldn't be shocked if they go, let's roll it back with Brissett. We had a lot of success with him. Flacco is a little bit too old at this stage here, and plus, he didn't look as good with the Colts as he did with the Browns. So I could see Brissett making a lot of sense for both sides and just having an eerie reflection all over 2022 again. So hot take I'm just going to throw out there right now. Don't sleep on Brissett coming back to Cleveland to be this team starter. Who do you think will start week 1, 2025? My ultimate bold prediction is it won't be Watson because they're going to camouflage it under this idea of he's still injured from the Achilles. He's not quite ready yet. But basically, it's them saying to themselves, we just don't want to start him. And then inevitably, whoever they do start, because this is just Browns quarterback luck, will either get injured or get benched. And then Watson will come back in, and he'll play super duper well. And then the Browns have to decide whether or not to extend him before he goes into the final year of his contract. So we have that to look forward to. All right, before we sign off, I just want to show some love to the Brown and Orange Club. Tim Green, Mike Dibble, Jeremy Stallman. It was so great to see you guys during our watch party on Sunday. Slow but sure, David Botner, Jared Brandt, James Harper. Great to see you as well, along with Papa T, Joseph DePorte, Mike, Ray Bidding, Dr. No, Eli Green, John Porter, Scorpion, Max T, Jacob Bate, Drunken Honky, Pistol Sleuthy, Kiki, Richard, and James Belt. We got Nicholas, Tyman the Buckeye, Paul Anderson, Miami Mac, and then our 2 latest additions, A1 Eagles fan before USA, submitted via Papa T, so appreciate you, Papa T, and Doug Wick, who joined the club on Sunday as well. Thank you guys for watching all season long with us. It's been not a season to remember, but it's been great hanging out with you guys every single Sunday because it makes it that much more manageable to watch this team lose. All right, that will do it for us on today's episode. Make sure to subscribe, hit that thumbs up button, and I'll catch you all later.